this afternoon and tonight, a significant winter storm, including heavy snow with limited readings.
Hello, and welcome to the Snowbrains podcast, where it's my job to interview the most intelligent people in the snow sports industry and pass their fascinating knowledge on to you, our listeners. I'm your host, Miles Clark. I'm a professional free skier, a professional mountain guide, a UC Berkeley molecular cell biology graduate, the founder and CEO of Snowbrains, and in 2009, I was in Mexico City, independently guiding for my first time ever. We were there to climb the 18,702-foot volcano, El Pico de Orizaba. As we were pulling out of downtown and onto the freeway, there was a huge intersection, and as I was crossing it, a traffic cop signaled for me to stop. I stopped, the light turned red, he pulled me over and told me I'd run a red light. I knew the hustle, and I used my Spanish to try to figure out a quick bribe as he threatened to take me to the police station. I've always thought of myself as a good negotiator, but I got smoked that day and couldn't get him below $200 for the bribe. The worst part was that I didn't even have $200 on me, and I had to borrow money from my 4 clients to get enough cash together to pay this guy off. A rocky start to a rowdy trip across the high plains and volcanoes of central Mexico. This episode of the Snowbrains podcast is brought to you by Icon Pass. The moment is now. The best deals of 22-23 season are happening at iconpass.com. Seek summit scenes and future shred sessions before prices go up $100 and promos end on April 22nd. It's time to keep the stoke alive, seek a season of fun in the mountains, and do you across 50 of the best ski destinations in the world. Discover more at iconpass.com. Today's Snowbrains podcast is brought to you by Valle Nevado, Chile's premier ski resort located 90 minutes from Santiago, with the largest skiable domain in South America and world-class heli skiing deep in the Andes Mountains. My guest today is Connery Lundin. Connery is fully naked on the cover of the second to last ever Powder magazine. He was the overall champion of the Freeskiing World Tour in 2015. Connery has been in 7 ski movies, including Warren Miller's Winter Starts Here, Matchstick Productions' Huck Yeah, Warren Miller Timeless, Matchstick Productions' Drop Everything, Matchstick Production Ruin and Rose, Powder Magazine's Monumental, Skiing Our National Parks. Connery grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, went to college at the University of California at Boulder, was raised on Squaw Valley Palisades Tahoe, is addicted to Jackson Hole, is a summertime cliff diving genius, and is one of the smoothest free skiers on earth. Hello, Connery. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being here, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, Miles. How are you?
I'm good, buddy. When did you ski last?
I skied 2 days ago at the Painmishlanki, and I got my butt kicked.
So tell us about that. What is the Painmishlanki?
Well, it's a celebration of Shane. Everyone takes out their snow blades for the day, dresses up funky, and there's also a race from the top of Palisades Tahoe to the bottom, and it's the total Chinese downhill, race from top to bottom. No rules, pretty much. You can kind of cheat almost.
I got to do it once. I forget what year. One of the first years, Scott Gaffney invited me, and even before they say go, people dropped in. I mean, that's how hard.
Totally, yeah. And so you just got to be ready for anything that gets thrown at you. And this year was down the mountain run. It was firm. It was fast.
Ooh.
Super scary. I was actually in the lead for about halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way.
Oh,
and decided to take a shortcut that ended up being a long cut. And long story short, I ended up getting collided into by Tyler Curl of all people, and not even finishing. So that's part of the Painmishlanki. It was fun though.
That is part of it. I think cheating is encouraged for the most part.
Definitely.
And when we say Shane, it's Shane McConkey, of course. And this is right around his birthday, which is pretty fun. And I don't know if they did this while he was alive, but they definitely have been doing it since he's been gone. He's been gone since 2008. It's crazy. So great. Yep. So you just skied 2 days ago. You skied on snowblades. How good are you on snowblades?
Not that good, but it went training the last week before. You're not supposed to train, but it requires a lot of quad strength that you don't normally use on, 180 centimeter long skis. So it's a different muscle group for sure.
I had no idea how terrible I was on snowblades till I did that. I have a lot more respect for the golden saucer that people have won there.
Coveted.
The coveted, the highest prize in skiing. I mean, if you will. It's
Pretty
obvious.
much.
All right, man. Well, you are in the middle of a powerful professional free skiing career. You're one of my favorite skiers, and you're one hell of a great, just all around guy. So let's get into it, man. We're going to start with a rapid fire round before we dig into some of your bigger life quests. You ready?
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right, bring it on. How many days do you ski per year?
I'd say about 100, and that includes 20 plus days in Mount Hood coaching Party Beach ski camp.
And that's in the summertime.
That's in the summertime.
Nice. What's Mount Hood like in the summer?
It's slushy, it's warm, it's sunny, it's fun. Summer skiing, it's great.
I've always wanted to go. Maybe this is the year. What's your biggest accomplishment in skiing?
Ooh, my biggest accomplishment in skiing would have to be the fact that I'm here talking with you and have built a life around the sport we all love, which is skiing. Like I never could have imagined that skiing would go this far, and I'm just super grateful to be one of the lucky ones to have made a living out of it. I think that's one of my great accomplishments.
What's your biggest accomplishment in life?
Greatest accomplishment in life would be, I think I put a lot of value in my relationships with people. So I'd say just trying to be the best person I can, whether it's with family, friends, or strangers. That's a quality that I strive to do well at.
Where's your favorite place to ski?
My favorite place to ski is, of course, Palisades Tahoe, home resort here in California, Lake Tahoe.
Nice, man. And why is that?
Oh, it's just got a lot of meaning, just growing up skiing here, watching guys like Shane and JT ski off all the cliffs and being a ski racer. And it's just got a lot of history, this place, with Scott Schmidt and all the generations. And you can just kind of feel it in the valley. It's fun.
I agree. And if you had to pick some other mountain ranges, what might be your favorite mountain ranges?
I love the Sierra Nevada, part of where Palisades Tahoe is. I also love the Tetons. I lived in Jackson for a couple of years, and the Jackson area has a special place in my heart. And Canada, I love the mountains in Canada. Really playful, fun terrain. And obviously the go-to answer is Alaska, because those are the greatest skiing mountains in the world.
I agree. And I just learned a little bit about, spent a couple of weeks in the Tordrillos. I've always loved the Chugach, but man, I might like the Tordrillos even more. So we'll
heard good things. I've heard good things.
You and I need to go there and ski together, man. What would you do if you couldn't ski?
If I couldn't ski, I'd probably be like an elementary school teacher or something. I have a lot of fun around kids, keep me young. And I'd probably teach elementary school or something silly.
I did not see that coming. We'll remember that. Elementary school. I'm going to get you some books, kids books.
Yeah. I mean, middle school, they kind of rip you apart. I don't know if I'm tough enough for that.
I was a terrible person when I was 13.
Me too. I think that's why I'd be scared of them.
Exactly. Because I'd have the karma not on my side.
Oh.
What scares you the most in the mountains?
I'd say the scariest thing in the mountains is anything out of your control, whether it's avalanches or cornices or freak accidents, people getting hurt and having to deal with a situation that you aren't prepared for. Those sort of things are really what scare me. Objective danger, unforeseeable and
scary, man. What do you love most in the mountains?
I love staring at mountain faces and treating any face as a backcountry venue and just trying to pick a fun and cool way to ski down it. I don't know. I think we all look at mountains differently. And, what I might see on a face is different from what you might see. And I just love reading terrain, really.
Mind surfing the mountains. I love that too. I think it's something that
mind surfing. There you go.
All mountain people love to do.
There you go.
And
whether there's snow on it or not, it's fun to visualize mountains that are dry and be like, "Ooh, what would that look like? Would that go? Would that cliff be too big or too small?"
When I was a kid, when we were driving, I used to envision me as a skier next to the car, going the same speed as the car and just hitting every little thing. And
every handrail, every little thing off the highway.
Totally. Signs, whatever.
Yeah, it's an obsession for sure.
Yeah, just anything you can see. What's the funniest accident you've had in the mountains?
Funniest accident? I guess it was probably, I was a mighty mite and I just learned to do 360s off the side hits on Mountain Run.
How old were you?
I must have been like 10, maybe younger.
Wow.
I remember doing like a candied style pole plant on the takeoff with my right pole. I spin right, and my pole went straight into my balls.
No.
And I knocked myself, like the wind out of myself. But on top of that, my balls hurt for, a week, and I was 10 years old. You don't even have balls then.
Yeah. Terrible.
That was funny. It's maybe most painful too.
Yeah. Funny and painful. God damn. And maybe, could have been life altering. So I'm glad that you're okay there. What's the scariest accident you've had in the mountains?
The scariest accident is a crash that happened at Big Sky, Montana, in an FWT competition. It gives me the goosebumps to even think about this crash. It was basically the perfect storm for encouraging poor decision-making on my behalf. If I had scored a certain amount of points in this competition, I would have qualified for the Freeride World Tour. So anyway.
Oh, wow.
So I was super inclined to go big and underestimated how much rock would be on the takeoff of this cliff at the bottom of the venue. So rather than hitting this cliff, I sort of deviated my plan. And you don't want to lose your fluidity in a big mountain line because the judges will dock you for that. So rather than having a plan B, I just decided to ski off the next cliff that I saw.
Oh, shit.
Bad idea. The second I popped off, I saw that I was coming like pretty much into a rock wall about 30 feet below me.
Whoa.
It was the first and only time I've been in the air where I thought there was a chance I could die. Definitely, I was certain I was going to break my legs and my back and my hip. I just didn't want to be paralyzed. And it was not fun. It was not fun at all.
And all that went through your head in the air.
Oh yeah. Just the millions of thoughts that can go through your head in a split second. I ended up bouncing off these rocks. It's a vicious crash. It's on video. You can find it on my Instagram, but I didn't break my hip. I didn't break my back. I'm still alive. I did break my ribs and my arm. And yeah, that accident, that misjudgment has definitely shaped the way I ski every day. I look at cliffs a lot more meticulously, and yeah, don't go skiing off cliffs into rocks.
Yeah. Don't hunt cliffs you've never looked at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa, thank you for sharing. That is scary. God damn, especially 30 feet to a rock wall. Well, impressive that you had such minor injuries compared to what could have happened. So I'm glad that went well. What year was that?
I guess that was in 2014.
Okay, so a while ago now. Wow. Well, good.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, man. I wish it would have gone a lot better for you because I wanted to see you in the Freeride World Tour. But we'll talk more about here.
You live and you learn, and that was a good learning experience.
Agreed. Agreed. I think the lows bring us to the highs, and it's the difficult times that make us who we are and make us better. So sometimes you look back on these things and you realize, well, I didn't want that to happen, but it did, and I'm better for it. How many friends have you lost in the mountains?
More than 10.
Really? Wow.
Hopefully under 20. But I mean, close friends. Yeah, I just don't even try to keep track, but we all have lost friends in the mountains. It's part of our sport, but it sucks.
It really sucks. And I think it's something we don't talk about enough. So I always do try to get people to open up a little bit about it here. But what's terrifying is I'd say the average is somewhere around a dozen, almost everybody I ask on the show. So yeah, it's just something that we do deal with in the mountains, and it is scary. But again, something else that might help make us better. How many avalanches have you been in?
I've been in one avalanche. It wasn't actually in it, but it was in Eastvale, Colorado, while I was going to school at the University of Colorado Boulder. I just got my first beacon shovel probe, and I had no idea how to use any of it. And followed my friend into the backcountry there. And within a moment of leaving the gates, I heard this whoomph, and I didn't even know what a whoomph was. That's how, unprepared and uneducated I was. Sure enough, we ski this little face, and I'm the third skier to go and break off this, 4-foot crown starting to roll under my feet. Now, it was over this 50-foot cliff with a tree kind of like straight in the trajectory where a skier like myself would have flown.
Jeez.
Luckily, I was able to get into this tree grouping, kind of like hug smack into a tree violently with my tail kind of dangling over this cliff as the avalanche tried to pull me off.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the only time I've ever been close to being caught in a slide, and it was terrifying.
That is terrifying. And the Eastvale Chutes are a place where quite a lot of people have passed away.
Absolutely.
It's a scary zone. I know it's really good skiing and a coveted, famous zone, but I think that also attracts all kinds of people and all kinds of people have had trouble back there. So I'm glad that
I hate Eastvale.
Yeah. Sounds like it's just a scary spot. And so, wow, scary, man. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I know you shared that you broke your arm and your ribs in that crash in Big Sky. Have you ever been hurt while skiing in any other places in your body?
Yes, surely. I've had the laundry list of head injuries. I've gotten a couple concussions.
Oh,
my last real injury was in 2018, filming with Matchstick Productions in Elise Sogstad. We were in British Columbia and it was early January. I jumped onto this pillow. I thought it was a pillow and it turned out to be a tree stump covered in snow. And lesson learned there, it's early season, shallow snowpack. I was a little too trusting. So I broke my leg and took me out for the year, but it's since healed and gotten stronger and we're still skiing.
That's good, man. What's the pressure like when you're skiing a movie, especially the biggest movies, MSP movies, Warren Miller movies? What's the pressure like on you to perform? Do you think athletes take more risk when the camera's on them?
Definitely. There is a pressure to perform. It's part of the reason you're there. But I mean, in essence, it shouldn't be a pressure that you're not used to putting on yourself in most situations or most days skiing. So I like to think of it as like big day in the mountains where you're pushing yourself, but you're never trying to go too far out of your comfort zone because that's when bad things happen. So it's a fine line you kind of balance between pushing the limit and not doing something dumb.
Right. Absolutely. I'd love to see, there would never exist these statistics, but I'd love to see the stats on the percentage of times athletes get hurt when filming versus not filming. And if filming doesn't have a significant impact on that, it'd be interesting to see. Because it does seem like, when the camera's on, you got to do it. And I've felt that pressure in my life. And I know a lot of professional athletes do in our sport.
I'm inclined to say that there would be a statistical, that it would just show that athletes do get hurt filming more. But also you hear so many accidents happening where you're skiing down the groomer and someone hits you, or you turn your brain off and next thing you know, you're on your back. So,
and I almost feel like that's more common, really, right? It's when you're just not paying attention. You're kind of goofing off. You hear about that stuff almost more, God, I was just doing almost nothing and boom, my ACL. But c'est la vie, huh? Such is life. You've been on ski trips all over the world. Which was your favorite ski trip?
My favorite ski trip was the first real ski trip I ever went on for filming. And that was in Yellowstone.
Oh, tell us
Wyoming.
about it.
I was part of this really cool project I got to do with Powder Magazine. The movie was called Monumental, Skiing Our National Parks. And we essentially skied 5 national parks and filmed it. And the first segment of that movie was shot in Yellowstone. We winter camped for 7 days. It was brutally cold. We were in this really, really cool zone way out and got to ski with Andy Mayer, who I looked up to forever, Lindsay Dyer, Coulter Hinchcliffe. And it was a really fun trip. It snowed the whole time. We had 1 day of Bluebird and it was perfect, it was stable. It was an amazing trip. Yeah.
So Yellowstone was an awesome trip. I remember seeing a picture of you doing a huge backflip or maybe it was a video. Tell me about that line, because that really sticks out in that project.
Totally. Yeah. That huge backflip photo, I believe it's a photo. We have video of it too, but that big backflip from Yellowstone, that was our last day of skiing big lines. Man, I was so young. I had no thought of, hey, we're way far out here in the backcountry. If you do something dumb and you get hurt, like things could be really bad. That never even crossed my mind. I was just fully confident, ready to go, young and energetic and dumb.
Yeah. So how old were you and how deep were you?
I was 25 years old.
Okay.
And we were 13 miles from Cody, Wyoming.
Whoa. What were the logistics like? You guys are pulling sleds. How are you getting all your gear out there?
They luckily let us take snowmobiles in.
Oh, that's great.
With all of our gear. And then we had to hike from the road into this zone. That was sort of the crux of our operation. And then after 7 days, we carried it all out ourselves. Skinned it out.
Whoa. And where were you staying?
We were staying in tents in this beautiful basin they had found a year or two before, and just had all this awesome skiing terrain like right there.
This project is so cool. Yeah. If listeners haven't checked it out, look it up, the Powder Magazine Monumental project. But I do want to hear more about this. So what other parks did you go to?
I went to Yosemite and the Grand Teton National Park. And then they also did segments in Glacier National Park and Olympic National Park.
Which parks had the best skiing for you?
Well, Yellowstone was the best by far. We hit it in winter conditions, and I mean, we were scared of grizzly bears. Like, we didn't know what wildlife we were going to see, but we had bear mace on us. It was just a full on adventure with the winter camping. I'd say the next coolest trip was Yosemite. I think we hiked 18 miles in from Tioga Pass. There's this cool little hut there that we were able to stay in. It had electricity. We were able to charge electronics and stay pretty warm. It was in the spring. Nice. We ticked off a bunch of classics around Tuolumne Meadows, and that was really special.
What'd you ski in Tuolumne?
We skied a cathedral.
You did. Wow.
We skied two different aspects of it. God, we went all over the place. I skied this one line. I will never forget it. It was this beautiful granite chute, but it had this fallen column of granite over it. So it was like a 15-foot air into this chute that had like an arch over it. So it was this beautiful, cool, creative line. Wasn't able to ski fast into it, but it was staring at us from afar. We ended up hitting it.
I would like to look that up. When I was young and getting into mountaineering, I spent a lot of time in that Cathedral Lakes area with the Cathedral Peaks and Unicorn Peak and all that, Coxcomb and all that. It is stunning. If our listeners don't know, it's just basically huge granite monoliths. It's just absolutely stunning. Sharp, jagged peaks, beautiful rock, almost white gray granite. It's bright even in the moonlight. And to ski in that zone would be really special. I've gotten to ski a little bit in there, and it's just so special. And so you told us who was on these trips. That's so cool. You had Coulter Hinchcliffe and some other amazing skiers. Where do you want to go back to and explore more of those three parks you went to?
Oh, I would say Yellowstone.
Sounds like you had a good experience there. Yeah. Why?
Only because we were so far out there. There's no way you would think to go skiing out where we were. It was so deep. You'd need all the supplies. You'd need a plane to drop off, a shipment for you.
Right.
So Yellowstone, just because it was so remote, and we felt like we were skiing mountains that had probably never been skied by anybody. And that was really cool. So Yellowstone.
That's really special. How did you get on that project?
A little bit of luck, a little bit of lying.
Oh, tell us about that. That's good.
Yeah, well, the year before that, I'd won the Freeskiing World Tour. And so that kind of put my name out there a little bit. And I was living in Jackson. KGB was the production company shooting that project based out of Jackson. They were looking for a fourth athlete, and I was pretty ambitious to be that fourth athlete. I wanted to transition from competing to filming. And so I did whatever it took to get on that project. And part of that was lying. They basically had asked me, do I have, experience in the mountains and winter camping and, in avalanche terrain? And have you gone touring? I'd never even gone touring before.
No way.
Going on this trip. Yeah, I actually went touring the day before leaving up Snow King, the little mountain inside the town of Jackson. Nice. And it was at nighttime, and I was just struggling, dragging ass. All my friends were beating me to the top. And we get up to the top, and my friend Teton looks at me and he goes, "Dude, your brakes have been down this whole time."
No way.
So I'm hiking up Snow King thinking there's no way I'm going to be able to go on this Yellowstone trip. They're going to kill me. Sure enough, my brakes were down. So,
well, you probably did a hell of a lot better once you get those brakes up, man. That's great. I love it. I mean, the fake it till you make it mentality, it is real and it works. Proof positive.
That was an extreme case.
That is an extreme case. Okay. So that was essentially a long answer to the question. You've been on trips all over the world. Where was your favorite ski trip? Yellowstone. And I love this question. Where would you not go back to?
I would not go back to nowhere. I've never had a bad time skiing anywhere. Honestly.
I feel the same. We have that problem mutually. It's just, if I'm skiing, I'm having a pretty awesome time. How many ski movies have you been in? And which was your favorite?
Yeah, I've been in 3 Matchstick, 3 Warren Miller, and Monumental. So 7 movies. I would say my favorite was the Monumental project that we did. That was because it was pretty meaningful, just skiing in national parks and trying to tell the story of the national parks. It felt like we were skiing and there was a deeper meaning to it, and a fun story that I really liked.
And it sounds like it really just ripped you out of your comfort zone and put you into this whole new realm of skiing that you didn't know much about and you were learning on the fly.
Totally. Yeah. I think there's something just being a beginner in anything, being the young, new guy or girl, you've got this like unlimited energy. Everything is new. And I think that just reminds me of that time in life.
Absolutely. What challenges you the most intellectually on a daily basis?
I'd say the greatest challenge on the daily is honestly trying to grapple and deal with like my identity as a skier and as a person with Instagram and that whole world. I find it pretty tough to, figure out what to post or what not to post. I'm a pretty private person, so I don't like to share a ton, but it's your job as an athlete to do that stuff. So I think it's one of the more conflicting things I deal with in the day to day.
And tell us more. Yeah. What else? What conflicts you about social media?
I'm conflicted by social media in that it's not a real depiction of, who we are and what we do. It can be, but it's not how I naturally would ever think to spend my time or share my experiences, like to share them with people and real life situations. But there's also value to social media and it's part of the job and, it's becoming more and more. So there's no denying that. And I do enjoy aspects of it, but I think it's just balancing what to share, what not to share, how much. And, there's times I'm very unmotivated to post on social media, and that's a shitty feeling because you've been an athlete, you feel like you're not doing your job and you're not, fulfilling your obligations to sponsors, but right. You got to be true to yourself. And that's also important. So it's a balance, really.
It's a tough balance, man.
Still figuring that balance out.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all are, because it really is idealism. I studied a little bit of ancient Egypt when I was in college, and that was really Egypt's thing, right? Was idealism. So when you see those hieroglyphics and those beautiful, raised and sunken relief, I don't even know, you can't call them paintings. I guess they were painted also, but just imagery that they would create. It was all what the ideal was, right? It was when everything was perfect and it was the highest class people. And we do the same on social media, right? Especially as athletes. It's, us, we're stomping cliffs, we're landing airs, we're making tricks happen, we're doing all the good things. And we don't share the challenges and the mental health issues and all the other things that come with it. And one good thing is, as society becomes more open-hearted, we are getting more of an avenue to share that stuff on there. But we both know what the feedback can be like on social media too. So it is a challenging game, and we're mostly all just showing idealism, just basically showing people, here's my perfect life, and nobody's living that kind of life. And so it is a strange depiction of who we are and what we do.
Totally. That was well said. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. What's your favorite? I know you're an avid reader, Connery. So what's your favorite book or books?
My favorite book is The Endurance.
Oh, tell us.
About Ernest Shackleton, written by Alfred Lansing. There's a few different ones, but the one written by Alfred Lansing is phenomenal.
And that's come up a couple of times on this podcast. I just saw it in the lodge. I was staying in Winter Lake Lodge in the Torjula Mountains in Alaska last week. And I saw that book there, and I leafed through it. I've read it before. But it's the story of Ernest Shackleton, an Irish, explorer who explored for England, and their ship got crushed in the ice. They were going to cross Antarctica, and they ended up going on this amazing adventure of survival. You got to read the book. And they ended up leaving a bunch of guys on an island. They found South Georgia Island by dead reckoning, got to Chile, had to come back a couple times. It was it's nuts. And he saved everybody. And they just found his ship. You saw that, Connery, right? They found it 10,000 feet down.
Totally. Amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Fully preserved.
Totally preserved. 115 years. It's been 10,000 feet down. Shackleton's notes were so accurate that the explorers, or, underwater explorers, were able to find it. The images are phenomenal. And probably a lot of listeners have seen that too. But if you haven't, look up the pictures of the Endurance. That is spectacular. Did you ever have a mentor in the ski world?
Yeah, I did. I was lucky to have JT Holmes, legendary professional skier and base jumper, as a mentor. I grew up in Squaw Valley, and as a kid, he was actually my tutor. He was my math tutor when I was 10 years old. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. In his early years of being a pro skier, he also tutored me and my friend Grant. That relationship sort of grew over time. And yeah, once I started competing and trying to pursue the skiing thing, he was there for all of it, helping all along the way with, whether it was strategy advice and big mountain competitions or sponsorship advice and how to word things and what to ask and how to navigate this crazy world that literally has no rules. It's a crazy space. So I would not be here without the help of JT Holmes. That's for sure.
Well, thank you, JT, because I'm stoked on where you're at, buddy. How did you make your dreams into reality?
Yeah. In college, I was fortunate to enter a few big mountain competitions, no real aspirations to do anything with it, and had some great success. And once I graduated, I decided I'm not going to use my business degree. I'm going to go full in on this skiing thing and live like a dirtbag and eat beans and rice and try and do this. And just really committing to trying to make this life work. Being young and naive is helpful. Yeah, I think going all in, and I know when I was trying to make it as a skier and I was unsponsored and all that, I was never about, I guess there was never a doubt that it would happen. It was kind of like a when. And
nice.
It was, just really like a determination that I still can't find today. Like that was the young Connery. I want to channel that because, it was, relentless. It was awesome.
I love that you had real self-actualization. It was not if it was going to happen, it was when it was going to happen. And you went all in. And I love that going all in for you ended up with you having it all off, because I want to jump into you're naked on the cover of Powder magazine last 2020. And I just think that to me, it was such a big deal. I think, that day it came out, I was harassing you on the phone and sending you text messages. And because I think you're the only skier to ever grace the cover of Powder magazine in the nude. and we got to hear the story. How the hell did this happen?
Well, yeah, first of all, I'll just say I'm super grateful to be the skier that is the naked guy on that cover, because
that's so good.
skiing is about fun and being silly. And yeah, it's a ridiculous sport we do, sliding on snow, and it's easy to take it seriously and get all crazy with it. And so part of it came from Shane McConkey, who's famous for skiing naked and poaching venues naked and all of that. And how that exact photo came about. We were on a cat skiing trip in British Columbia with Guy Fatale, photographer, Amy Ingerbretson, and Todd Laguerre. We had pretty crummy light for a photographer's point of view, and the snow wasn't great either. So there was nothing to lose. It was our last day. And the cat driver was cool with me leaving my clothes in the cat and buzzing down fast. The guides were cool with turning the other way, if that's what they did.
Right. I love it. How cold was it?
It was cold. It was really cold, actually.
It looks cold, man. Because remember everything you showed me. Look, my knees are purple in this picture.
Right. Yeah, no, it was very cold. It was, the air itself was probably 28 degrees, but then, you make a few powder turns and you get these face shots and you're naked and that goes straight through you. So I'm not going to say it was warm.
No. And why did you guys do it? You said it just sounded fun. It was a show to Shane McConkey last day.
Well, I'd seen this picture of Drew Peterson skiing with like all of his clothes on. He just had goggles on with his hair flowing in powder.
Okay.
And I was like, dude, why wouldn't you just like a naked shot of powder skiing would be so sick. I've never seen it.
No.
So I kind of had this vision to do this shot for like a couple years, and this opportunity presented itself. And we literally had 2 turns to pull it off. It was a short run. We managed to get a frame that was deemed worthy of the cover of Powder magazine, which was amazing.
Yes, it is. It's very worthy. If our listeners haven't seen it before, Google it right now. Just naked skiing Powder magazine cover. It's so good. It embodies the spirit of skiing more than any other photograph I've seen. So I was so pumped when it came out, because I think Connery does that as well. I think Connery really embodies the spirit of skiing, and it really is just all in your face in this one picture. It's so good. And I love that, despite being naked, your junk and everything is covered up just enough, and so that it's still totally PG. So yeah, it's an amazing shot. You got to see this picture. Totally. So Powder magazine shut down in 2020 after 49 years of print, and your naked cover was one of the very last issues ever, definitely the last season ever. Was being on the cover of Powder magazine one of the biggest honors of your career?
Absolutely. I think that, Powder magazine is considered the Bible amongst many skiers, including myself. To sneak it in there on the second to last issue was I mean, that's a dream come true. It was amazing.
It is.
It is amazing.
Yeah, Powder magazine is the ultimate. If you ever cover a Powder, especially now that it's not around anymore, you're sort of immortalized. But do you think Powder magazine will come back?
I'd like to say yes.
Yeah, I'm very confident it's going to come back because at some point, the people who own it are going to release it to somebody, and it's just got so much soul, and that's never going away. And what do you think? What has Powder meant to you as a skier?
Powder has just embodied like what skiing is in so many respects, from like being a professional skier and the profiles they do on the athletes, to just writing really cool articles that reach, your everyday skier. It's really like a lifestyle magazine around skiing, which is the lifestyle. So it just relates to so many skiers on a wide spectrum. And it was just super incentive to go out and shoot photos because everyone wanted their photos in Powder magazine. Without Powder right now, I feel like there's not such a big rush to go out and shoot photos anymore, which is a little sad, but it's going to come back. It's going to come back.
And it will come back. And it'll be cool to see, it's pared down shape, even if it's just an annual, one annual print a year, it would still be awesome. And so I do want to call you out a little bit here for just hanging out with your wang out all the time, because my understanding is this was not, and I just talked to our buddy Aaron Fox about this, this was not your first ever naked skiing foray, if you will. So what other naked skiing have you done?
That's a great question. I've done a lot of naked skiing. This cover was not a one-time fluke here, folks.
Years of experience is being displayed there.
I guess my first time naked skiing was filming with Matchstick Productions and Scott Gaffney in Lake Tahoe in the spring. We were hitting this jump overlooking Lake Tahoe, beautiful blue, and then my pale white naked ass flipping over Lake Tahoe. That ended up making it into the trailer. I think it was the last shot of the opening scene of the movie. It ended up on Red Bull's main page. Like if you scroll down to Red Bull's page, you'll see somewhere there's a little square of like my naked ass. It's like pretty funny.
Oh, that's great. And Fox mentioned also that you might have skied Terminal Cancer and the crazy shoot in Nevada naked.
Did ski Terminal Cancer naked for Cody Townsend's 50 project.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that. Tell me more.
It was the second line he had done. So the series was very new. We went out there and Elise came along as well with Bjarne. And yeah, the whole thing was everyone, Terminal Cancer has been skied by a million people. So how can we make it a little different? Cody brought a mono ski. I brought snowblades. And the night before I claimed that I was going to ski it naked, not having looked at the forecast, it was 0 degrees that day.
Oh,
just howling wind, just blowing down the couloir.
Yuck.
We actually hiked past a group of snowboarders, 2 snowboarders. They were in front of us. And Cody was, the gentleman he is. Hey, can we ski this first with fresh tracks? I'm shooting a YouTube series, and they were super cool. They let it happen.
Nice.
Cody skied first, and then I'm at the top and I take all my clothes off, and these guys are like, what the hell is happening right now? And it was too windy to even communicate, but it was a fun time.
Jesus, man. How cold did you get on that one?
That was the coldest I've ever been.
Ever. Who brought your clothes down?
They were in my backpack. I stuffed them in my pack. But yeah, it's a long ski down that couloir.
It's really long.
It's a long ski down. And when you're naked, you don't have any protection on your knees or obviously you're anywhere else.
Your crotchal area.
And so we had a little bit of soft snow that was kind of flying in the air and chilling body parts that didn't need to be chilled.
Must have felt great to get those clothes back on.
No, it was a fun time.
Nice, man. Today's Snowbrains podcast is brought to you by Via Nevado. Via Nevado celebrates 34 years, offering North American summer skiing from June to September. Spectacular Andean views, empty slopes, no lift lines, and delicious cuisine paired with Chile's famous wine are all the hallmarks of Via Nevado vacation. Valle Nevado is a member of the Icon and Mountain Collective and offers all-inclusive packages for every price point. It's no wonder so many international ski teams and pro skiers and snowboarders call Valle Nevado home every summer. This episode of the Snowbrains podcast is brought to you by Icon Pass. Right now, it's time to claim the last chance for deals, and you and the crew score the best prices on winter 22-23 and get all the early season goods before they go away on April 22nd. Buy now, ride now, with access to a total of 10 destinations by April 11th. Save up to $200 in child passes with the purchase of an adult pass. 21-22 pass holders can claim up to $100 off in renewal discounts for 22-23 and pay it all forward with a payment plan as low as $0 down and 0% APR. Grab your pass at iconpass.com. Well, I got to jump into, I think, maybe the most pivotal piece of your career, in my eyes, the springboard potentially, winning the Freeskiing World Tour. So we'll just start off saying you won the Freeskiing World Tour in 2015, the overall, which is obnoxiously badass. So I'll just jump into some of the numbers here. So you were the overall champion, Freeskiing World Tour 2015. You got first place at the Telluride stop, same year, 2015. You got the Sick Bird Award at the Freeskiing World Tour. And that was in Snowbird, also 2015. And you even got the Young Gun Award on the Freeskiing World Tour at Crested Butte in 2011. So we'll start off with, what is the Sick Bird Award and how did you get the Sick Bird Award?
The Sick Bird Award, I believe, was started by Shane McConkey. I could be wrong on that. But what it is there's a first place, second place, third place. You know, there's a podium for these events. You know, right. The guy who skis the best line and wins the competition. But sometimes there's somebody that does something that is standout. You know, some girl could hit an air that is no one even saw on the venue. That was super creative, or some dude could flip off a cliff and land on his back, but it was pretty badass. And so that's how you basically win a Sick Bird Award, is by standing out, but you're not the winner, or you're not necessarily even on the podium. You just did one exceptional thing. One
amazing feat that cannot be ignored.
Exactly. And in doing so, you win a beautiful belt buckle that says the Sick Bird Award,
which is kind of a big deal if people don't know. And our, probably very small competitive free skiing world, even if people who don't compete, people who, are sponsored or want to be pro or are pro, having this belt buckle is a big deal.
I would compare it to a golden saucer.
Yeah, it is in the golden saucer realm, at least. And what did you do to get the Sick Bird buckle?
I did a flat spin 360 off of a natural cliff feature, North Baldy at the Snowbird venue.
Nice.
So I basically found this cool kind of transfer side hit. I threw a flat spin 360, which nowadays would not even get you anything, I'm sure. But
no, they dock points.
Yeah, they would dock points. But at that point in time, it was a fresh trick, with a classic Japan grab, and took it pretty big, and it was, landed well. And yeah, I just got the Sick Bird Award. I did not win. So, but they kind of give it to like the next loser also.
Yeah. Usually it's not given to somebody who's already done, a podium performance. Yeah. And that's also, I think, on your website, ConneryLundin.com. And I just watched that today, and it is sick. Even for today's standards, we were joking, it is still sick. And to do that in a comp, especially back then, 7 years ago, was a very big deal. And then tell us about the Young Gun Award. You also got a Young Gun Award. What is that award?
That was sponsored by the North Face Young Gun Award. And I guess it was for anyone under 21, so not of drinking age, was in the Young Gun category. So it was hard to win those events as a younger person back then. But if you did well, that's how you got the Young Gun.
Yeah. And as a younger person, when and why did you start doing free skiing competitions?
Started in Boulder. We were watching a free skiing competition from the year before with my roommate Teton Brown and Tony Seibert. I just remember watching the winning run and thinking, dude, I could do that, sort of like cocky, young, college, teenage mentality.
I like it.
I couldn't do that, but it was just wanted to do that. And so we signed up for the competitions that year, and it was enough incentive to be like, yeah, I think we could compete. So me, Teton, and Tony went to the competition, and we did well, and I got third. And
whoa, what was that effect like? You know, I think I can do that. And you go and do that and get third, end up on the podium. How did that feel?
It was totally foreign and ridiculous. Kind of giving up on the skiing dream at that point, switching from ski racing in high school to just having fun in college. And it was pretty much at that moment I was, you know, with Teton and Tony, and we're thinking, well, dude, maybe we should actually try at this thing and do this. So we signed up for the rest of the competitions that year, and, you know, we all had our successes, and yeah, it was really fun. It was a fun community back then. It was more than just competing. It was an atmosphere.
That's what a lot of people say, that it was the people that kept them coming back. And so what year was that you first started competing?
2010.
2010. So only 4 years later, in 2015, maybe 5, you won the whole tour. And so what was it like to win the Freeskiing World Tour?
It was a dream. It was a dream after that first year of competition. You know, I wasn't winning events, and it was actually far off, but the idea of being able to do that at some point was stuck in the head. And it was just really cool to compete and meet all these people and understand the strategy. There's so much more to big mountain skiing than being the gnarliest skier or going the biggest. You know, there's a lot of strategy, and different venues favor different styles of skiing, you know? So I think it really took those 5 years to kind of like figure that out. And it was a total dream to win that. It was unfortunate because the Freeskiing World Tour dissolved the year after and kind of became the Freeride World Tour, which is good because now there's one world champion rather than 2 every year, which was a little confusing, but I feel so honored to have that. And I haven't competed a day since.
That was my next question. Were you satisfied, or did you go back for more? I know if it was me and I won, I would have walked away and used it as leverage to get in movies, which I think is what you did. But I've also got to ask, because you told me years ago, it took you 4 years to learn how to do tricks off of cliffs, essentially off of natural features. And I'm assuming that was part of what you were doing there. And that was really, I think back then when you were the early 20 teens is when that was really becoming a thing. Because I feel like back when I competed, you know, as early as 2005, people were trying tricks, occasionally landing tricks, but it wasn't necessary to win a comp. And I think you might have been pivotal in pushing it to that next level, that, hey, you're going to have to do at least 2 tricks per run and stomp them to win these things. And so tell us a little bit about learning how to do tricks. It took you 4 years. Why did it take 4 years to learn how to do tricks off cliffs?
Yeah, well, I grew up ski racing in really stiff boots, and it's you stand on your skis differently when you ski race, and you're not used to popping and setting and doing tricks. So to take on that style of skiing is like pretty much felt like relearning how to ski, especially with 360s and you know, flat spins and all that. So yeah, it was like a long, slow progression to be able to incorporate tricks into competition runs confidently. I've always said that like an 80% margin of confidence is where I like to be for a competition run. And if it's anything lower, then chances are you might not pull it off. So it took about 4 years to feel confident enough to throw tricks in runs. And it made it way more fun. You know, it kind of like, you didn't have to go off the 50 footer. You could go off the 25 footer and do a 360. Yeah. We've kind of seen competitions go more and more that way. So much respect for all the guys on the Freeride World Tour, and even the junior events. Now you watch them and kids are,
oh my gosh,
kids are doing things that would have won, freeride competitions 10 years ago for the adults. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's nuts, man. And I think I told you before the show started that I actually was just guiding for the natural selection tour with Travis Rice. And, when these guys, Travis Rice did 8 tricks in his run off natural features, off just a big spiny mountainside in Alaska. And so it's come so far, and it's so encouraged now. And I like it. It almost feels safer. People are doing a little bit smaller tricks or smaller airs, but doing tricks on the airs, like you said. And I think it's way more entertaining. I think it's more technical. It's really, really fun to watch. So I love it. It took you 4 years to kind of get tricks off cliffs dialed. You won the Freeskiing World Tour, which is insane. And then you were smart, I think, in my eyes, and stepped away from competition and started filming. So you got into ski movies. And my understanding, as we talked about before, you've been in at least 6 ski movies. I'll rattle some off here. So Warren Miller, Winter Starts Now, 2021. Matchstick Productions, Huck Yeah, 2020. Warren Miller, Timeless, 2019. Matchstick Productions, Drop Everything, 2017. Matchstick Productions, Ruin and Rose, 2016. And we've talked a lot today about Powder Magazine's Monumental, skiing our national parks in 2016. So you talked about Monumental being your favorite. And, you told us a little bit about getting into the Monumental movie, how you got into that. Let's tell me a little bit. How did you get into the Warren Miller and Matchstick production movies? How did that happen for you?
Bothering a lot of people.
Yeah. And that's the key, right? Squeaky wheel gets the grease. Tell us more.
Yeah. Well, I was living in Jackson in 2016 when I got to film with Scott Gaffney and Matchstick Productions for the first time. And basically through the grapevine, Scott had heard that I might be worth filming with through having done well in competitions. And I came out and skied with them in the spring, him and Cody and Ross Tester and Xander Gouldman.
And Xander.
And it was really cool. It was, that was sort of like getting the invite almost, but we didn't actually have parts in the movie. We didn't have segments. It was almost a tease, not Matchstick's fault or Gaffney's fault. Conditions didn't favor us. So, but the next year, I was like, well, I want a part of that. I really want to do that. And, it was scary to step away from the competition scene because, you've got your whole season kind of figured out and planned for you. And it's fun. And they do all the marketing for you, but really I wanted to film. And so, yeah, like you said, squeaky wheel gets the grease. Talked to Scott and talked to the guys in Crested Butte at Matchstick and kind of bothered them. And, it's a funny world with sponsors and how you get into these movies and, all that jazz. But a lot of coordinating and getting out of my comfort zone, writing scary emails to people.
Yeah.
Is how that worked out. It didn't just happen for skiing with skiing for me. I don't think I was quite the good enough skier to just be able to walk into, a Matchstick movie and get a 10-minute segment. I definitely had to work more for it. And I'd say just that coordinating and trying to connect sponsors with Matchstick and Warren Miller and all that. It takes a lot.
It does. And I really appreciate that mentality. I've used that strategy a lot in my life of squeaky wheel gets the grease. And what you're doing is showing people that you're motivated, you're focused, you know what you want, you're ready to make things happen for yourself. And so I'm really glad that worked out. And, knowing Scott Gaffney and pushing yourself to get in the movie. I love that they sent 4 Squaw Palisades Tahoe guys to film in Jackson too. That's fun for me. And then Warren Miller, how did you get the call to ski with Warren Miller? Warren Miller are the most watched ski movies. And then maybe you got to work with Tom Day, who we know from Squaw Palisades Tahoe. And he's also been on this podcast, films all the Warren Miller movies. So yeah, how did Warren Miller happen for you?
Totally. Yeah. Warren Miller was another situation similar where Tom Day, who's been filming with them forever and was a skier for them back in the day, he's just a legend. He lives right in the valley. And so we've got these close connections with Tom and Scott. It's kind of an ideal place to be if you want to film in this world.
It is.
Palisades Tahoe. And so leveraging that and just talking with Tom and JT had done a lot of stuff with Warren Miller. So he helped connect me with the folks at Warren Miller. And it took me 2 years of barking and all that to finally, get the approval. But we did a trip to Silverton and filmed for Timeless. And it was an amazing week filming with Warren Miller and amazing premiere tour. They have shows across the country. It's a really cool experience. So
no, congrats, man. It's just such a big deal to be in Warren Miller and Matchstick, both incredible. So I want to talk to you about backflipping old Highway 40 in Tahoe. So I know that you've backflipped the road gap over old Highway 40 on Donner Pass near Lake Tahoe a few times. Hopefully the cops aren't listening to this. How big is that road gap, man? How scary is that thing?
I've only hit the lowest road gap, which is only hittable in the biggest winters that Lake Tahoe sees. How big is it? I would say it's got to be a 50-foot drop.
Jeez.
And probably 40 feet of clearance, maybe more.
Oh my God.
But it's a scary road gap, not even because of its size, but because the transition, the area you need to land is so small. It is steep enough to land for very short. And if you go too big, you're landing on flats. And if you go too short, you're hitting a guardrail.
Oh,
So that road gap was scary for all of us. I actually only ended up hitting it once.
you've only hit it once.
I only did it once.
And you did a backflip and landed it? What happened?
Did a backflip and landed it. And it was enough for the day. You know, it was enough adrenaline for the day. And then we went back the next day with ambitions to double backflip it. And everything was lined up. And our friend Zach decided to hit it first a little early in the morning. And the snow was completely bulletproof ice.
Ooh.
And we ended up pulling the plug. So only once have I hit that, but it's a good one.
That thing is terrifying. That thing is scary. I never even went up and looked at it. I never really thought about it, but I would see your guys' clips and videos, and it still just blows my mind. And the images are just phenomenal.
You would be up there with us doing the same exact thing.
Oh gosh,
no doubt.
And I don't really know how to build jumps well, but I'd trust you. I'd look to you guys for that. And then I also want to hear, what about backflipping into the chimney at Squaw Palisades Tahoe in 2017? Tell us about that, because I think maybe only you and Shane McConkey have ever done that.
Yeah, that was scary.
Because there's no speed. Yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah, we were filming for Drop Everything 2017 Matchstick Productions with Scott Gaffney, and I walked up to the top of the Palisades, and he kind of put the idea in my head, and I looked at it and thought it was possible to do, but you're starting on a completely flat mountain, so there's no speed. There's like literally zero speed. No. So I'm thinking, okay, yeah, it'd be cool, but like we need a snowmobile or a bungee or a winch or something. But then he's like, well, you can get towed in. So then these snowboarders walk up and they ambitiously tell me, oh, well, we could pull you in. So next thing you know, we're doing this. Scott Gaffney's got the camera rolling. There's 50 people watching, and I'm so scared. It was probably one of the scariest things I've ever done. It must have been a 50-foot drop.
Oh man.
Kind of pinner in between rocks. And all I wanted to do was get out far enough and clear the rocks. That was all I was thinking about, because the speed was such an issue. And sure enough, these two snowboarders freaking yank me in, run with my ski poles. And then I get two pushes and set way too hard because I'm trying to get far out, and totally backsplatted. Did not land it. So Shane's the only one to have landed that one.
But I would say the year you did it was a bit gnarlier. I think when Shane did it, it was totally covered, no rocks at all. In 1999, I believe it is, in that movie, my favorite ski movie by Scott Gaffney. Yours was still had a little bit of bone zone, a little rocks and some scariness. And the video looked awesome. I think I saw it live. I think I was there that day. I remember you getting pulled in and just being blown away that you guys had the guts to do that. So props, man. So which do you think, which was scarier for you, the old 40 road gap or the dropping into the chimney?
Chimney for sure.
Oh, really? Okay. Wow. Because
only because I was the only one doing the chimney. You know, when you have a group of friends hitting a road gap with you, you've kind of got this group mentality, confidence thing going. But when you're doing things solo, it's, first of all, it's less fun without your friends, and it's way scarier.
Good answer, man. That does totally make sense. That would make it way more scary as it was. So I want to shift gears here. You grew up in the Bay Area, in San Francisco Bay Area in California, and you grew up in Oakland, which is about 3 hours from Lake Tahoe. So just quick, what was it like growing up in Oakland? You didn't live very close to snow at all. You grew up in oak trees. What was it like down there?
Yeah, no, I grew up in Piedmont, which is a little town surrounded by Oakland. And it was not a mountain town childhood. It was, but it was cool. I played a lot of sports like soccer and baseball, and, had a pretty normal upbringing. And my dad was fascinated with snow and skiing in Palisades, Tahoe. And we'd come up here every single weekend, no matter what, in the winter. And he had me on skis when I was 2. And I can't say I loved skiing as a kid, but
yeah, I heard you didn't like skiing or you hated skiing or something as a kid.
But yeah, my dad was just persistent, and we just kept coming up, and there was no saying no, and learned to love skiing.
Wow. Well, good for you, man. I love that. I think I read your dad found Squaw Palisades in the 60s. Must have been a paradise back then. I can imagine.
I bet it was.
What a
I bet it was.
What a different world. And I love it. You went up every single weekend. So what other pro skiers or pro any skier do you know that also came from the Bay Area? I have a little list here that I looked up.
Yeah, no, there's a few. Well, Johnny Mosley for one.
Yeah.
He was from Tiburon, Marin area. JT Holmes, Palo Alto area. God, there's a laundry list of them.
Yeah.
I know Eileen Gu, who's
oh yeah, she's from San Francisco.
She's from San Francisco. I mean, there's so many.
Yeah, I mean, Cody Townsend's from Santa Cruz, which I think you could throw in the Bay if you wanted to.
Exactly, yeah.
And Darren Rawls I forget where he grew up. I had him on that show, I forget. But he definitely was born in Walnut Creek in the East Bay. And so, yeah, I'm curious, why do you think so many pro skiers come out of the Bay?
You know, I think it's funny because if you live in the mountains and you're born in the mountains, then maybe you appreciate them less, you know, kind of like I grew up skiing here in Palisades, Tahoe. Anyone from Vermont that moves out here skis every single day, even if it rains.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm too spoiled.
Yeah.
So I think the same effect happens with people from the Bay Area. Maybe, you know, you really cherish your time on snow when you're there. And then when you get the opportunity to live up there, it's game on. And I think that happened with JT and Darren and Johnny and myself and Eileen Gu and everyone. I mean, you just want more.
You do. I love that. I think it's true. When it's not right in your face, you know, you don't take it for granted. You're just hungry.
Yeah.
And you know, as soon as I can, I'm going to get up there and experience it, much of it as possible. How has the Bay Area changed in your lifetime?
It's changed a lot. It's, you know, I live in Piedmont, which is surrounded by Oakland, but I mean, just close to my house and in Oakland, areas that used to be like pretty low income and scary to drive through are very hip and cool. And there's just, I just feel bad for all the people that are getting kicked out because of price increases. And I don't know, it's a different culture. You know, I feel like the culture of the Bay Area and Tahoe for that matter is, it's the locals that once were are being displaced. And it's a sad reality.
Things have changed so much because I grew up in the Bay as well. Would you ever move back to the Bay?
Don't think so.
And how do you think Tahoe has changed in your life?
Tahoe has just become infiltrated by people from the Bay Area or the city who have more money and they can afford a second or third home. And yeah, you know, you're feeling less and less of that community, and there's more and more empty homes, and it's happening not just here, but in mountain towns all over the country. And it's no one's fault, you know, it's not their fault for wanting to be in the mountains. You know, I'm not faulting them. It's just, I guess, a reality. I don't have an answer for that, but
it is. It's a reality, and it has made housing challenging. It was always quite easy for me to rent a place in Tahoe for the winter. In the last 2 winters, I couldn't find anything, and I desperately had to put messages on Facebook. Hey, could anybody let me crash? And fortunately, I got a couple of friends reach out and say, hey, you can crash here. And unfortunately, it hasn't snowed a whole lot the last couple of seasons. So I didn't actually end up in Tahoe much because I really just chased snow. But bit of
you got connections everywhere.
Well, thank you. I try to. And that's the kind of the key, as you know, as I know you do too, especially from your competitive days. You just end up on all kinds of people's couches and spare rooms. So let's jump into Boulder. So Boulder, Colorado, which, you went to the university there, which I call California University at Boulder, because of how many Californians go to school there, probably more than the Coloradans. So you ended up at CU Boulder. And how much did you ski in college?
My freshman year, I didn't ski that much. It was my first year off ski racing. I probably skied 4 times a month.
Oh, wow. So maybe you were a little burned out from ski racing.
Definitely. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And then that sort of changed, starting to fall back in love with skiing and just free skiing and skiing for myself, and had friends that were diehards, and we'd go up on, school days, weekdays, weekends. And yeah, it's picked up over the course of the 4 years from, I think, like maybe once every 2 weeks to twice a week.
Nice, man. Oh, great. And where did you ski?
I skied a lot of park when I went to Boulder. I went to Keystone a lot and Breck. Those are the closer resorts. Nice. Arapahoe Basin was always fun early season.
Oh, Basin's amazing.
I always had a blast going to Beaver Creek as well, but that was the furthest drive.
Okay. Nice, man. And so your ski racing was totally over. You weren't on the ski team in college, nothing like that.
No.
But
shredding.
Nice. But you did tell us you started doing the free skiing comps in college, and that started, truly started your free skiing career. Okay. So you graduated college and you ended up back in Squaw Valley Palisades, Tahoe. So what was your plan after college?
My plan after college was to make enough money in the summer to be able to ski for 3 months and travel and do all the competitions. Nice. So I was hell bent on doing every competition possible and winning the Freeskiing World Tour. That was the plan. And
was that what year did you graduate?
2013.
Okay. So it took you only 2 years after graduating, your dream came true. You won the Freeskiing World Tour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well done, man. I love that. And I did the same thing when I graduated. I graduated and I lived in San Francisco and did carpentry and bartending in the summertime. And I would save enough money to do 6 months. I didn't travel though. So it was a little easier to extend the money. So I would do 6 months in Tahoe and I would not work at all. And I remember just every year when December 1st hit, it was such a good feeling. I'd be so sick of the city, so sick of painting and doing carpentry and bartending. And I just wouldn't work at all. That's why I did my first 4 years after college. I, like you, hardcore ski bum. And I loved it. I would never change that decision. So I guess it was easy for you because you grew up at Squaw Palisades, but how did you pick Squaw? Was there anywhere else that was considered, or was it just clear when I graduate, I'm moving back to Tahoe?
Well, growing up here as a ski racer, I never really skied the mountain that much. I did jump off a lot of the cliffs and all that, but I never really knew the mountain or felt like I'd done everything I wanted to do at Squaw. So coming back here after college, it was like, okay, I know this mountain. I just haven't done anything here in this new realm. So it was really fun and exciting.
So how did Palisades Tahoe improve your free skiing?
Well, I think the terrain, growing up ski racing, and also having so many powder days as a kid was a huge thing where, you weren't just a ski racer, but you were also a free skier. That was kind of bred in us.
Yeah, that's special.
And then having your icons just like on the chairlift, like C.R. Johnson and Shane McConkey and J.T. Holmes and Cody and Elise and Ingrid, like these people were actually in front of you on the chair. Like they were tangible human beings. And it just made the whole dream of being a professional skier a little more realistic or attainable in your mind.
And that's what everybody says, when you can see people like you doing it and you're sitting on the chair with them, it feels much more attainable. So I love that rubbed off on you. And I'm so glad that it did. And why do you think, why is Palisades Tahoe great?
It's got really fun terrain, compact. It's not the biggest mountain. We can get the most snow, but we often don't. But we have these long springs, long seasons, and all of our features are right under the chairlift. It's like Alex Cushing designed this place like a genius. It's every cliff you'd ever want to jump off when you look at the mountain happens to be directly under a chairlift. And who wants nothing more than to be recognized by everyone on the chairlift for all the cool things you do on skis? That's what Squaw is.
And that's the culture that Squaw has bred. And
exactly.
it might be a derivative of the chairlift placement, honestly, because that is the way it feels and skis and snowboards. Well, let's flip that right over, because I know that you also, like me, are also in love with Jackson Hole. So we first ever really connected by driving 13 hours together from Tahoe to Jackson in your big red truck named Clifford. And so tell me, what's your connection to Jackson Hole?
Well, Jackson Hole was sort of a backup plan because Palisades Tahoe hadn't received snow for 2 winters consecutive when I lived there. So it didn't seem like the place to be. And Jackson Hole seemed to have really good winters consistently. I had some friends that lived out there, Connor Pelton, Elena Collins, his wife now, and they let me live on their couch for an entire winter. And that was incredible. Connor was on the free ride tour. It was a special time. Yeah, Jackson was a really nice place away from home, kind of like, I guess, away from parents and family, and just like able to kind of have my own life. Every kid's, I feel like, is looking for independence in their life, and Jackson Hole offered that for me.
A true taste of autonomy there. I love that. And why do you love Jackson?
I love Jackson because it's so much like Squaw or Palisades Tahoe. It's a beautiful, big mountain range. It's a fun town to live in. And similar to Palisades Tahoe in this area. You know, you've got Matchstick that's kind of like got their center hub here. Jackson has TGR and their center hub there. So you've just got this free skiing culture that is everywhere in Jackson. You can't get away from it, and you want to be a part of it. And it elevates the level of skiing for everyone. It's fun.
Free skiing is very much celebrated there on the highest level. TGR is just infectious. It's everywhere and everything in that town. What do you think Jackson has done for your career and for your skiing?
Yeah, Jackson was kind of a proving ground, I guess, in that there are, so many cliffs in the side country you see in all the TGR movies, and watch Sage and all the icons like Ian McIntosh and Wendy Fisher, whoever, there's so many clips from Jackson Hole, and to go there and hit those cliffs and prove to yourself that, you can do that too, is a pretty cool thing. It's not just me, it's anyone who goes out there and you see like Fat Bastard or Smart Bastard or Cody Peak, and it's just, you're hitting the same cliff, you're skiing the same feature that's in the movie. You can't do that in Alaska. It's basically impossible, but you can do that. You can do that in Jackson.
I really like that about Jackson too. And I'm curious, coming from Tahoe, coming from Squaw Palisades, did you feel like you had a chip on your shoulder at all? Did you feel like you did have to prove something? Because I don't feel it as much now, but back then there was a real Squaw Jackson rivalry that was mostly on the Jackson side. I don't think in Squaw we thought Jackson was lame because Jackson's just rad. But when I would go to Jackson, people were like, oh, you're from Squaw, huh? Did you get any of that? What was your experience there?
Yeah, I think there was definitely some ego and flack, and you see that in any mountain town, especially Jackson. There was that competitive spirit, but it was all in good fun, in my opinion. I was never really insecure about Tahoe. People are always dogging on Tahoe and saying it doesn't snow and this and that. And, it's just, we hadn't had a few good winters, so it was easy to talk poorly on the area, but hey, it's good. They don't come here that often. So
they don't. None of my Jackson buddies have even been to Squaw. It's hilarious. Some of my friends in Utah, even, it's so close. I love that, man. Yeah. Cause I definitely felt that, I think it was mostly in good fun, but there's definitely vibe that, oh, you're from Squaw. Like, oh, we'll see how you do out here in the real mountains. So I think that for me, getting to ski some of the classic lines in Jackson was big for me. I did have a little bit of chip on my shoulder about that stuff. And once I did, you ski like the double dead tree drop on Breakneck, and you feel like, okay, I belong, or I'm okay, or I can hang, and that I was curious what your experience was, because for me that was definitely big for me.
Yeah,
and something that
you skied that line really well.
Oh, well, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Yeah. And it's something that I'll always, I'll be content about that. I got to go to Jackson, when I was strong and skied a couple of those lines, and you've skied a lot more of the lines than I have. One thing I did want to talk about, and I don't ask everybody about this because it's almost a touchy subject, so I want to see if I can get you uncomfortable on this. First, sponsors. I think so many of our listeners are super curious about how sponsorship, getting in movies, getting paid to ski works. If you don't mind me prying a little bit, I think our listeners would be enthralled. So let's just start with an easy one. How did you get your first ever sponsor?
Cool. Yeah. Well, my first ever sponsor was Fortitude Skis. That was during my second year on the Freeskiing World Tour. They're a Colorado-based company. They were making them in Boulder. I wrote them an email. I ran into the owner, Nick, at a competition, and he gave me some free skis, and that was the extent of that sponsorship. But I'd say my first real sponsor was Blizzard Skis, which came about in 2011.
And tell me, why do you say real sponsor? How do you qualify that?
Well, I guess Fortitude was a real sponsor. It's not fair to say they weren't, but they're a small little company, I guess. And JT, my mentor, always warned me to stay away from those small companies.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's how you do it, man. That's how I did it. You start with the smaller companies because you have a better chance of acquiring them. When people ask me, hey, how do I get sponsored? That's what I tell them. I could say, start small.
Yeah, exactly. So I started small.
Really your first major sponsor was Blizzard Technica.
Yeah, my first major sponsor. And that was the next year. Not to say I outgrew Fortitude in any way. Just Blizzard had, skis and boots, and it sounded like an exciting time. And yeah, I reached out. Nice,
man. Okay. Well, then how did you first ever get paid to ski? How does that work?
That was many years later.
That's how the ski industry moves.
Yeah. And definitely a big jump and leap, and a scary time to make the transition from being unpaid to paid. I remember it was after winning the Freeskiing World Tour and having ambitions to film with these big production companies and leave the competition circuit and sort of follow the path of so many greats before me. And that was the goal. That was the plan. And to relay that to a sponsor and ask for money it's a hard thing when they've been giving you free product for X amount of time. And now you are asking for money to essentially do the same thing. You've really got to plead your case.
And it's difficult, right? And I love that for our listeners, that's like, such a call that you have to win the Freeskiing World Tour to get paid to ski. And you'd think that the threshold would be lower than that. But that's right. I think that really shows, it's like a bit of a harbinger. It shows how difficult it is to get paid in the ski industry.
Yeah. And, not even just that, it was winning that, but it's not as though companies were, oh, you just won the Freeskiing World Tour, we're going to offer you money. Like, no, it was pretty much the opposite. You really had to ask the hard questions and throw out some numbers and say some things that made you really uncomfortable in email. If you want to pursue this lifestyle, you've got to at least receive some compensation to make it possible at a certain extent. And I'd been working in restaurants and doing landscaping, doing both for so many years. I was just like, why is this guy and this girl getting paid? And what separates them from me? Why can't I be there? If I had a little bit of support, I could. And so I think it's believing in yourself and being able to really, really convey that to a sponsor. It's a really hard thing to do.
They're not lining up to pay you. You have to sell yourself. In my experience, I've sent thousands and probably tens of thousands of emails to ski industry people trying to get product, trying to get paid. Nobody, at least in my experience, has ever lined up and just said, hey, I really appreciate what you're doing. Let's bring you into the fold in this way or that. It's always been, hey, here's what I want. I always ask for about twice as much as I actually want. So then when they half it or quarter it, it's still doable. So it's an interesting battle becoming a pro skier.
Yeah. And on the negative side, we'll start with that. I think it is becoming harder and harder just within the industry.
Definitely.
I'd say 10 years ago was the golden era of sponsorships where guys and girls were making $50,000 for a Scott's pole sponsor.
Whoa.
And that doesn't happen anymore.
No.
But I'd also say on the plus, there are so many ways to do it now where back in the day, it was either you won the competitions or you were in the movies. Now you can win the competitions, or you can be in the movies, or you can have an awesome Instagram, or you can have a YouTube channel, or you can be really creative. There's so many avenues and opportunities. You just got to differentiate yourself.
I do like it that it's opened up and it's become less exclusive, because you can literally just be a fun, good skier and your buddy's good at shooting iPhone clips, and you could get into the industry as a sponsored or pro athlete. And that's cool. Well, that's great. I was going to ask you, what do you think is the best thing about being a pro skier and the worst thing? And I think you might've hit it there. And I think the big question is this your dream job?
This is my dream job. That's not to say it doesn't come with its downsides and the stress and the cost of having your passion also be your profession, which brings on a whole different conversation. But it's an amazing job. There's nothing I have to really complain about. I'm super lucky to be able to ski for a living.
You're in a great spot, buddy. And you produce, which is what I love. And your vibe on the mountain, you're the whole package, Connery. How much longer do you plan to be a pro skier?
It's a good question. If you asked me that 10 years ago, I would have told you forever.
Good.
I've started to fall in love with surfing and other realms of life. Not to say I don't love skiing as much as always, but I don't know. I don't know how long I want to be a professional skier or could be a professional skier. As long as it's fun and can do good with it.
Well, that's great. I hope that it's fun and fulfilling for as long as you hope it will be. Because it is special to see you out there, man. I really appreciate seeing you. And you talked about other aspects, and I know there's lots of other aspects, but one of the last things I want to touch on is your cliff diving. I like cliff jumping, cliff diving into water. I don't really do tricks anymore, but I used to be able to do, a backflip or front flip, a couple other things. And it's pretty scary. It's pretty fun. I think it translates to skiing. But tell us a little about, tell me about your cliff diving.
Yeah, cliff jumping is definitely a summertime fascination. Me and my friend, Zach Steele, who recently passed away in a speedplane accident. Him and I just went cliff jumping all over Lake Tahoe. We have tons of great granite, tons of great pools. And he was somewhat of a master of cliff jumping. He had all these crazy tricks like double corks and triple corks and gaining double corks and double flat spins. And just seeing him do what he did, it just inspired me to pursue cliff jumping, which is, in many ways, it relates to skiing. I'd argue it's scarier because water really hurts to land on.
Oof.
And you're falling straight down vertically. You're never really going up and then down. So it's a totally different feeling, but the adrenaline's there for sure.
Yeah, definitely. What protective wear do you guys wear anything to protect yourself from hitting the water hard?
Board shorts.
Perfect. Serious protective PPE.
Board shorts. That's it. Some people wear shoes. You don't want that much surface area though. If you have shoes and a wetsuit, you've got more surface area to slap. So I guess the top guys, I'm not saying I'm a top guy. There's friends like Travis Sims and Robert Wall and Nick Coulter. These guys, they don't wear wetsuits when they do big jumps because they want to be really slim and penetrate the water without shoes.
How big do you guys go?
I went on one of the first trips where this group of cliff jumping, call them pioneers, I guess. They're all sort of Instagram famous and have YouTube followings, and they're just super awesome people cliff jumping all around the world now. We went to Havasu,
Arizona, right?
The Grand Canyon. Havasupai in the Grand Canyon. There's a waterfall there that's exactly 100 feet. And
whoa.
Yeah, I jumped off of that with a bunch of these folks and
and you guys were doing tricks.
That might've been the scary. I didn't do any tricks off of that one. That was a straight air.
Whoa. Yeah. Jeez, man. 100
tricks were thrown off of that.
Really?
And Zach Steele threw a triple off the 125 footer.
Holy shit. What does 100 feet feel like?
It feels like you're in the air for too long. Honestly.
I bet. A lot of thoughts.
It feels like you're in the air for too long. You're coming down with such force, and I can't really describe it. It was the acceleration, and man, I'll never forget that feeling. It was terrifying. I'll never do it again, but I'm so glad I did it.
Yeah, because I just had Julian Carr on the podcast, who does a lot of 100-foot jumps on skis, and the math is the human, I believe it's the terminal velocity of a human is somewhere around 120, 110 miles an hour, and you guys are probably getting close to that. So that's a hell of a lot of speed. So it's got to feel intense. Obviously the weightlessness and then that acceleration, 9.8 meters per second squared, is quick and really happens fast that you get up to that speed. So it literally 0 to 60 in a speed that we're not used to. And what kind of tricks were your favorites to do off cliffs?
I love to do Misty fives, rodeo fives, backflips, gainers, occasionally double corks.
Wow, man. Impressive. Because Connery also can do double corks on skis and a few of these other tricks as well, of course. It's really, I do a lot of skiing with Connery in the park in the springtime in Palisades Tahoe and Mammoth. And it's a good show. Very smooth.
I've actually never done a double cork on skis.
Oh, well, double flip though, I've seen you do.
But I've seen you do a D-spin at age 40.
At age 43.
43. Wow, that's impressive.
Mark it. Yeah, because with my knee, I don't know how many more of those are going to happen. But so yeah, I got to definitely put the mark in the log. I always like to talk about people's bodies, especially yours. So you've been, I knew that'd get a snicker. You've been skiing hard for a long time, doing these cliff jumps, being an athlete. How's your body holding up?
Body is doing really well.
Stoked to hear that. And what are you doing to stay in shape?
Just being active. I think never sitting on the couch for too long. Yeah. A lot of mountain biking and climbing and surfing in the summer and skiing in the winter, and a lot of touring and snowmobiling and a lot of gym time in the fall. Yeah.
That's good. And you and I, of course, have been backcountry surfing a couple years ago in north of Santa Cruz. The fires closed the roads and we were riding our bikes through the Brussels sprout fields to get to
Yes.
4 Mile and surf 4 Mile to ourselves, which is pretty cool because it's a really, really busy spot. Had it to ourselves for like 5 days.
Swimming with sharks.
Yeah,
That was great.
yeah, exactly. Kind of the yin and yang of the fires that summer. Well, this is it, man. This is the last question pretty much here is what's next? What's next for you in your life's journey, Connery?
I think I'm trying to figure that out. Season seems like it's coming to a quick end here. So just trying to figure out whether I'm going to go to Alaska or stick around home and make the best of what we have here. Otherwise, I'm really looking forward to summer coaching camps at Party Beach Ski Camp in Mountain Hood this summer in July and doing a ton of surfing.
I hugely appreciate you coming on the show. That is all that I've got for you. Do you have anything you'd like to share here at the end of the show?
I would just like to thank you for having me, all my sponsors for supporting me through the years, and my family for making this dream come true, and all my friends and followers and anyone who's just helped me and that loves skiing and snow and this whole world that we do, and my girlfriend and Zephyr. And that's about it.
Connery, again, you know how much I appreciate you, man. You know how much I look forward to seeing you again soon. Let's stay in touch. Let's get you up to Alaska and have a great rest of the day, man. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Hell yeah, Miles. You're the man.
Thank you so much for listening to the Snowbrains podcast. If you liked this podcast, please share with your friends and family, and please subscribe. To find out more about Snowbrains, please visit us at snowbrains.com. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Snowbrains. This episode of the Snowbrains podcast is brought to you by Icon Pass. Next season, Icon Pass is dialing up the stoke and welcoming 3 new legendary destinations to its family of mountains. Get ready to explore the storied slopes of Chamonix in France, the sun-drenched scenes of Sun Valley in Idaho, and the powdery, pillow-deep history of Snow Basin in Utah. Claim it all at iconpass.com before April 22nd, when prices go up $100 and spring promos end. Today's Snowbrains podcast is brought to you by Vi Nevado. Live the endless winter and don't let your skis get lonely. Ski and ride the magical Andes this summer at Vi Nevado, starting June 17th. This episode of the Snowbrains podcast was edited by Jared White. Music by Chad Crouch. And I'm your host, producer, and creator, Miles Clark.